gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's October the 10th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And man, I don't know where we begin today. Another heartbreaking day at the Rock this weekend. But I'll tell you what, you know where I have got to begin? I must begin by saluting you, Matt Shodell, because for once in your life, you were right about something. You spent the whole week on your high horse, pounding the table, demanding that Mario Cristobal play the young players on his football team and bench anybody that he could otherwise, and he delivered for you. I thought that Colby Young came off the bench and was one of the most unbelievable revelations that we have seen in this 2022 football season. He was the spark that they needed on offense. He was everything that they have been looking for at wide receiver this season. So Matt Shodell, I salute you. You were right on that one. And I got to compliment you on another front. I mean, everybody in the world was clamoring for Jake Garcia to replace Tyler Van Dyke as the starting quarterback. And you dug in your heels, you held strong, and you absolutely said that Tyler Van Dyke must be the starting quarterback of this football team. And you were rewarded with an almost 500-yard passing day at Hard Rock Stadium on Saturday. The only problem was that Miami still found a way to lose the football game. But look, wins and losses, it doesn't matter. All that matters, Matt Shodell, is that you were right. And my man, I can't give you enough props this morning as we begin a new Good Morning CaneSport.
Sorry, my volume's not working. Can you repeat all that? I did talk to my agent. I tried to get out of doing Good Morning CaneSport, talking about the third straight loss. Unfortunately, I'm locked in. I have to do this show. So, what I will say is, it's funny. The fans' perception is I didn't want Tyler Van Dyke to start. But you're right. I did say
I wonder why.
Well, I said he can and should and would start. Why they're confused is because I've been saying that just like every other position I've been arguing for, I said quarterback's no different. I said Jake Garcia should get a full game to practice with the first team for the first time that he's ever practiced with the first team under Mario and Josh Gaddis, and have one start. But fans take that like I didn't say that Tyler Van Dyke wouldn't have a big game. If they want to go back to last week's videos, I said would start and would have a big game because A, he's a good quarterback, and B, North Carolina is absolutely atrocious. And then when I posted after the game, my thoughts with this one sentence thing, I still believe I would like to see Jake get a full game, and a full week of first team reps. Fans take it like saying that, now Tyler's going to transfer or whatever. Like it's not, to me, where I'm coming from is I already knew what this team was. You saw it the prior games. It wasn't a mystery they were going to struggle against North Carolina or any other decent team. Good news is the next three teams are really awful. They should beat all three of them. But that notwithstanding, this isn't an ACC championship team, which is why last week I was pounding the table saying, let's see what you got. Like, let's start now. Because something that I feel like the team's always failed at over the last 20 years is they would just hold on to hope. Even though everyone knew the team wasn't great, they would hold on to hope until the last game. And, let's try to win 7 games instead of 6. Oh, let's try to win 8 games instead of 7. Versus, let's look 2 and 3 years out. Let's find out what we have on this roster. With the transfer portal now and unlimited scholarships, there is no better time than this past game, which they didn't do it, and the upcoming games to let young guys play. Nobody redshirts anymore. You don't need to. If you're good enough, you're gone in 3 years anyway, man. So forget the redshirting. Like, I need to see in games what these guys can do because I know fans think every coach can see in practice. Well, what do you need to see them in games for? They practice every day. They know what they have. Well, no, because you can see some players are better in games than in practice, and some vice versa. You don't know what you have in Jake Garcia. Fans are saying, oh, well, we've already seen enough of Jake. We know what we have. He didn't get a single first-team rep the game he went in. So let him get a week with the first team, get the timing down, work in that first-team offense, and play a game. Because guess what? At the end, and we'll see how he does if they do that, which they won't. This is what I would do. Fans think I'm nuts. This is about the program, not the players. Find out what you have at every single position. This is the perfect season now to get a really good grasp on your roster and which guys belong here and which guys don't. And just say, okay, this guy's on the scout team, or, oh, this guy's a freshman, and maybe he'll be good in 2 years. Like, let's see where they are now. And then you can figure it out from there. So anyway, at quarterback, I would take a look. I mean, there's really every position, honestly. I would start cheering up. I'm not saying to bench the starters, okay? I'm saying give some young guys 30% of the reps. I want to see Leonard Taylor get a full game. I want to see Darryl Jackson get a full game because they're not really doing – I mean, Darryl had a good game, but they're not doing what I think they can do if they get, 60 reps instead of 28 reps, or 55 reps. Let's see what they can do. The heavy defensive line rotation is not for me, man.
Now you're stealing my material.
Oh.
I was yelling and screaming that the whole game the other day in the press box.
So, yeah, I'll make it short. Look, this is the time.
You're stealing my material. You're just outright stealing my material.
And fans are going to be like, oh, well, we need to make a bowl game. I still think they'll make a bowl game, even playing young players 30% of the time. And Colby Young, like you mentioned, is a perfect example. They didn't think from practice that he was good enough for whatever reason. He didn't start the game. He didn't play in the game till the very end. And you saw him make two of the best catches that we've seen all season back to back. It's a microcosm of what maybe we can see if you give some young athletic guys that are on this roster a chance to shine. And if you give them a chance and they fail badly enough, then hey, instead of 3 or 4 linebackers, we might need 5 linebackers. Hey, maybe before the spring we need a transfer, because guess what? One of the failures of Mario Cristobal so far, and listen, he's a great coach. I still believe he's a great coach. I still believe 2 to 4 year playoffs. But one of the failures was he failed to recognize before spring practice where the holes were in the roster he inherited. And listen, it's not necessarily his fault. It's hard to judge when you haven't seen anybody yourself. But the transfers he brought in, he might have had better options if he'd gone after them earlier. The transfers he got aren't good enough. We all know that now. Maybe 2 of them are good enough. Henry Parrish and Akeem Messidor, well, 3. And I think Darryl Jackson will be good enough, although they don't play him enough reps to prove it.
Mitchell Agude did pretty well yesterday.
But he hasn't been consistent or that good. Yeah. And he needs to know. He needs to know, here's how many DBs I have on this roster that in 2 years will be really good. Here's how many linebackers I have in 2 years that'll be really good. Because what you don't want is a year from now realizing, oh, wait, I only have 2 good linebackers. And now scrambling in the portal and trying to play a true freshman maybe. That's all I want. Evaluate the roster. See what you got. And the only way to do that is playing young guys in games, not just having them work scout team and second team and third team in practice. That's just me. Call me crazy.
I feel pretty comfortable that they've got a pretty good idea on that stuff. But I like the fact that you said about 30% of the reps because, I can live with that. Where I struggle is, all the calls last week. Oh, bench Will Mallory. Will Mallory's trying to be a professional football player. And just because you might think, or some of you might think that he's not very good, he's hoping that somebody does think he's good. And there are times in that game the other day where he was making play after play after play. And if he's sitting on the bench and not getting used, he can't really showcase himself. And the older guys on the team deserve the opportunity to showcase themselves in case they can have professional football careers. So
it's about the team. It's about the Miami Hurricanes at this point. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you adopt that policy to where you screw over your older players just when it's time for them to showcase. Wait a minute. Just when it's time to showcase themselves for the pro scouts, you're going to cast them aside because the team's not winning. See how many guys you're able to recruit. See how quickly that gets used against you in negative recruiting. Oh, hey, Miami, man, when things go bad down there, they just cast aside their older players, and you're going to get screwed, bro. Like, you're not going to be able to showcase yourself to the pro scouts. You're not going to make it in the NFL if you go to Miami. So you better come over here to where we treat our veteran football players with respect and let them finish their careers.
Which of these amazing
how well the team's doing.
Which of these amazing first and second rounders are you referring to that I'm benching, Gary? Wait, who are they?
Well, I mean, anybody that's draft eligible is an older player.
Who is costing?
Okay,
who is by playing young players 30%?
Let's talk about it. Zion Nelson, DJ.
He's not playing anyway.
Well, because he's been hurt. But DJ Scaife would be another one you might bench based on your philosophy. Justice Oluwaseun is another one you would probably bench.
Where are these guys getting drafted that you're negative recruiting Miami?
Well, I'm just going down the list. Henry Parrish, you might bench Henry Parrish to play Thad Franklin based on the Matt Shodell doctrine. I could go on and on and on. Who else are you going to bench? Maybe you'd bench what?
I could go if you want to ask. I'll tell you right now.
You'd go. Yeah, everybody's careers at Miami would be done.
If you want,
an older player, because the team's lost 3 football games, and that would be the end of it. And it would probably be the end of Miami football too, because I don't know that they would be able to recruit anybody ever again if they did that. All right. Listen, I don't want to spend any more time on the absurdities.
No, I just want to say something, because which way do you want to have it?
Because I'm trying to compliment you.
You can positively recruit by saying, look at us. We play young players. You will have a chance. Like, I don't understand. You want to have it both ways. I don't understand you.
You play young players when they're worthy of being played.
How do you know they're not?
Wesley Basaint was out there, 20-something reps the other day?
The guys that they're playing most of the reps right now aren't winning games. Against
they tried to play Nigel Lee Kelly the other day.
They're not winning games.
The best freshmen on the team are getting a chance to play, Matt.
The guys that are playing the majority of the reps right now have lost to North Carolina at Middle Tennessee in consecutive games. And you think because they should have NFL prospects where they'll be free agents in the NFL that this is going to hurt recruiting somehow. Zion Nelson's hurt. He's going to play when he's back, and if he's better than John Campbell. He's been back for 2 games, and he wasn't better than John Campbell in the coaches' minds, which I find hard to believe.
I know, but I'm just using him as an example of based on what you're saying, somebody who you would bench. Like, you would bench all these guys.
You keep saying bench. I said play the backups and the young guys 30%. I'm not
30%
benching
is
anybody.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with 30%.
Well, I'm not benching anyone. I'm saying you got to get these guys a good look.
But you're softening your stance.
And guess what? When you get them those reps, you also go into the offseason where you can show them film and say, here's what you need to do in this situation. Here's what you do in that situation versus just practice film, which is the same offense and defense they're seeing every single day, and there's no nuance to it. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. But, people will call me crazy.
There's no doubt people will call you crazy.
It's a different philosophy than the last 20 years at Miami, and I want them to do something different because I've already seen what's happened the last 20 years when they just keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's just recycles. And I get it. They're going to bring better recruits, but you need to know how many you need at each spot.
We knew this team was somewhat challenged coming into the season.
We knew this? What do you predicted 10 wins? What are you talking about?
9 wins. I predicted 9. I never imagined that they would lose to Middle Tennessee State. Okay. No. North Carolina, we knew would be a competitive game, but it's the way they're losing these games, Matt. I mean, they're giving these games away, and no, they're not a great football team, but they are better than what they're doing. I mean, you go back to Texas A&M, they gave that game away with a fumbled punt, 2 missed field goals, a bunch of drop passes, terrible play calls in the red zone, on and on and on. Bad cuts by Jalen Knighton, who is having a horrendous football season. Middle Tennessee, they don't even show up. Okay, I'm going to consider when you look at what Middle Tennessee's done since coming to Miami. I mean, come on, man. It's like I don't understand. I still don't understand how badly you could not show up the way they badly showed up for that game. And then the other day, they gave it away again. After 2 weeks of working on pass defense, not giving up the big play, I mean, your best defensive back blows 2 coverages and gives up 2 easy deep balls and spots a good team 14 points. I mean, unbelievable. He missed another field goal. Red zone again, terrible. I mean, I don't know if Mario was caving to some of the criticism that was out there about him being too conservative, which is a bunch of nonsense.
Hope not. That would be a bad sign.
Well, I mean, he might have been because that one that he went for that gave them the ball at midfield that totally changed the game in the second half. I mean, they were in good shape. They were only down by 4. Defense was playing better. Lou Headley was money in the bank, pinning them inside the 20. Punt the ball down there and play defense. You're only down 4. Like, don't risk giving them the ball at midfield where they only need 20 yards to kick a field goal and hike the lead up to 7 points. I mean, I know Mario loves the analytics. I watched him. He did it at Oregon too, and almost every coach in the country follows those analytics. And I keep wondering, I keep watching year after year after year, those analytics destroying coaches and costing them so many victories because they end up doing exactly what happened the other day. They miss on the play, and Miami hit on a few too, but they miss on the play, and then the other team exploits it to score easy points. And there was another one where they didn't kick a field goal and ended up with no points. They left a lot out there on the field in a 3-point game. Used a timeout needlessly earlier in the second half. They lost 40 seconds of clock time late in the game when they're trying to either win the game or tie the game. They lost 40 seconds of clock time. I mean, just so many of these critical things, and I feel so bad for them because I know how hard they are working. But they can't get out of their own way, and that's why they've lost 3 in a row.
Look, we can sit here and argue the nuances of a play here or there, but the fact is, Miami's at probably about the same level as North Carolina right now, and North Carolina is not a real good team. Miami's not a real good team. And again, for me, I don't need to talk about rehash the North Carolina play calls, some of the coaching mistakes, the player personnel issues. I mean, again, to me, if you're a fan, as a reporter, I'm looking to the future. And that doesn't mean the bowl game because, whatever. They need the 15 practices for the bowl game. Obviously, you got to win 6 games. I understand.
Come on, man. You're not fired up for the Duke Mayo Bowl?
But that's the whole point.
Do you know where the Duke Mayo Bowl even is?
I'm guessing it's in a giant bottle of mayonnaise. Am I close? No. That's about. Listen,
I know where it is because I looked it up. I looked it up yesterday because I was trying to figure out. All right, what bowl game, if they can somehow get to 6, what bowl game might they go to at 7-5 or 6-6? And I hit on the Duke Mayo Bowl maybe.
I would rather eat a bowl of mayonnaise than watch whatever that matchup's going to be. But the whole point is, and again, this is what I keep coming back to. You need to plan for the future. This is about next year and the year after, and having the right pieces. Coaches have come here in the past and said, "Here's my plan for 4 years." They've said that, and they've had a plan in place. Now, Mario hasn't said he has a plan. I don't know what his plan looks like. I don't know if he looks ahead past tomorrow. He strikes me as the kind of coach who doesn't, we need to win now. What are we going to do to win now? What recruits can we get now? Not, hey, let me sit down and take, a week of the offseason to write down a plan for the next 3 or 4 years and what I want to accomplish. That's not what Mario does, but he needs to start thinking that way. And I hope he realizes that. I think he realizes now that he's taken on a much bigger challenge than perhaps he thought he was taking on. If you ask Miami fans last year, they'd say it was all the coach's fault. The players were good enough because you saw them sort of respond and play pretty well at times. And they had a really good young nucleus, and fans were pretty excited about that young nucleus. But it hasn't come to fruition this year. And Mario's got to figure out why, figure out what is missing. I mean, he literally was asking a player after last game, not the North Carolina game, the game before, literally asked a player, what went wrong? He doesn't know. There's no obvious answer to anybody. It's a myriad of issues.
Well, it is a myriad of issues, but I'll tell you one thing I noticed yesterday. I'm just watching the defense, okay, and in what I'm talking about here. And I thought there was an incredible lack of effort up front in the first quarter of the game on Saturday. And, Drake May had all day to throw. North Carolina was doing whatever they want. Cam Kinchins was busting out, and they were exploiting them for the deep balls and everything. It was just a horrible start for the defense, okay? But then, as the game went on, I noticed they picked it up. And suddenly, they were putting pressure on May. They were making plays. It was making a huge difference in the game. North Carolina's offense was not having anywhere near the same level of effectiveness as they were having earlier in the game. And I'm thinking to myself, what the heck is wrong with this team? That they wait until they're down by 2 touchdowns to start playing hard. And and start getting after it and looking like they care. Listen, the players got some looking in the mirror to do. I mean, the coaches certainly have their share of responsibility for this 3-game losing streak, but if you're going out there and you're not giving your team and your coaches maximum effort all the time, especially when they're platooning you and you're only playing 25 plays a game, maybe you're doing the wrong thing. Maybe you shouldn't be playing college football, because it was noticeable, Matt. And tell me if I'm crazy. You had to notice what I'm talking about. Just the difference in intensity and want by just looking at the defense and the defensive line after they fell behind in that game in trying to come back.
The guys they've been using are not having fun. That much is clear. It's supposed to be a fun sport. It's not supposed to be I got to go to practice today. I have a game today. What if the fans boo me today? I mean, this is a team that just mentally, you can call them whatever you want. I don't like to use the word soft, but they don't seem to really be that resilient. And what bothers me most is almost like Mario Cristobal realizes it to the point that after every game, he starts talking without being prompted about how hard the team fought and how they're playing so hard. I mean, it's almost like he's trying to convince himself they are, when it's obvious to our eyes that they are not. This is not a team that's giving maximum effort every down, because you can tell once they finally do get a little bit of a spark, if the offense gets a touchdown and the fans start cheering, all of a sudden the defense gets 2 sacks out of the next 3 plays, but they can't keep it up. There's not that mental fortitude where no matter what's happening in the game, I'm going to do my job, 100% effort every single time. And I don't know, I'm sure Kevin Steele is going to, again, take full responsibility for the ineptitude of the last 22 years of this program. But the fact is, maybe it's his rotation. Maybe guys are just coming in and out too much. You talk about trying to get in a zone as an athlete in any sport. These guys are not only not getting in a zone, but it's almost like they're just looking to the sideline. When do I have to come out? Or can I come out? Which is even worse. It's like that fielder in baseball who's hoping, don't hit the ball to me, don't hit the ball to me, don't hit the ball to me. It seems like there's too many guys in this team that are like that aren't ready to step up, that just don't seem to shine in the moment, And as great as Tyler Van Dyke is, and he is a great quarterback, he's 7-6 as a starter. And he threw an interception when he's throwing into arms up, passing lanes. He was rushed, panicked on 3 balls in the final quarter. If you watch closely, he threw 3 panicked balls that he never should have thrown any of them. Maybe 4 if you include the throw to Skinner, the play before the last play, where he probably should have just thrown it over his head. And that's not, look, Tyler Van Dyke is as much a wet rag as anybody in terms of personality outwardly, but that's okay. That's okay. But you need those guys on offense who are going to light a rag on fire and wave it over their heads. Which game was I watching? Oh yeah, I was watching the Green Bay game yesterday, for instance, right? The Green Bay Packers game. And their running back, which one was it? One of their 2 running backs. He gets so excited every play. I mean, he's just, that's what's, you don't see, when I was watching this game, I was like, why don't we see that at Miami anymore? Why aren't guys, jumping up and down and pointing that we got the first down and just having that enthusiasm? Gary, when's the last time you remember a guy even, just waving his arms up and down on the field, even egging on the fans? When's the last time you saw a guy just like, doing the, you see his helmet like this because he's so excited about a play, or pumping his fist? It's just like they run on, they run off. They run on, then they run off.
So where do they go from here? I mean, I guess that's all that matters right now. Where does this team go from here? Do they show up in Blacksburg on Saturday?
I mean, there's, what are they favored by? 8 points, I think it came out yesterday. Look, Virginia Tech's awful. I mean, if they lose to Virginia Tech or Duke, or what's the other game in this 3 games? Which one? Virginia.
I
mean, if they lose to any of those 3 teams, it's embarrassing. But they've already been embarrassed, honestly, these last 2 games. You should beat North Carolina at home. North Carolina's still, I don't think, that good. Middle Tennessee obviously is just really not good. So it's a real challenge for the coaches, and it's another reason to just try some other guys a little bit here and there, because You don't know who's going to give you a spark. You don't know who's going to be that guy pumping. I think it's Aaron Jones, by the way. You don't know who's that Aaron Jones that's just going to be jumping up and down and getting his own teammates fired up in the huddle. I mean, you literally see Xavier Restrepo is that guy, by the way. And you literally see Xavier Restrepo waving his crutches in pregame, like trying to get guys fired up. And they're just like ignoring him. You know, I think one of them gave a high five to his crutch at one point. And that was about it. Like, that's the guys you need. They don't have any of those guys right now that are healthy, that are playing, that show enthusiasm. You know, I think James Williams wants to be that guy, but for whatever reason, I think because they've warned him against getting penalties so much, I think he's just gone into a shell personality-wise on the field. And it's just a bland team on both sides of the ball, just bland. And even as Tyler Van Dyke had this great game, I mean, you know, for those of you that looked at the numbers, I mean, this was not that exciting downfield passing attack. They threw 6 passes that in the air went more than 19 yards. 6
Right.
out of 59 or whatever.
Most of it was very short passes and try to let them run. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like that exciting offense even where players, you know, players enjoy trickery. Players enjoy big plays. This is not an offense that creates big plays, and the defense is giving up big plays. And you add both those up, you can see why guys are like, you know, they look like a stone crab that's come out of the water. They're like, and that's not what you want.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you're right. They have an opportunity to peel off 3 straight wins here. What can light a spark? What could get these guys fired up?
You know, I don't know. If you're Mario Cristobal right now, he must be, you know, what gray hair he has left, he must be pulling it out of his head, man, because you know he dies for the Miami Hurricanes. Like, there's no fan out there who, if this doesn't work out, I still think it'll work out, but if it doesn't work out, there's no fan out there who should ever be able to say, well, he didn't try his hardest. Like, that's a guy.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that.
No, this is a guy. And you know what? I think honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I think that's part of the problem is he works so hard and he demands so much from his coaching staff and his players that when it goes south like this a little bit, you don't want to say rubbing salt in the wound, but that's the only thing I could think of to say right now, because it's not like he just takes his foot off the gas and says, okay, let's take a breather. You know, maybe you guys like need a day of rest, you know, or take a day off or whatever. Like, no, it's even more put on their shoulders. Like, you have to turn this around. We have to work harder. We're not working hard enough. That's all he can see is if you're losing, you're not working hard enough. He'll never see the, you know, my guys are banged up. My guys don't have depth. My guys are young and mentally fragile. He doesn't see that part of it because that wasn't him, man. That wasn't the guys he was around when he was a Miami Hurricanes player. That wasn't the guys he recruited and trained at FIU or Oregon, but it's what he's inherited here. And that's why in the short term, there's no quick fix to this, in my opinion. People can say, yeah, let's try to just fix everything and come back and be better. The next game better, the next game better, the next game. They'll be better. Other teams will also be better because that's what happens as the season goes along. That's what's supposed to happen. But he inherited a team that has inherent problems that we've already knew were there before the North Carolina game, that we probably, if you were being honest and listened to Matt Shodell and his Debbie Downers, probably knew before the season. But, you know, they've come to light. It's not a surprise to some people, unfortunately. But at the same time, there's no reason why you can't say in 2, 3, or 4 years, this can't be a playoff team. They play in an ACC where the majority of the teams are teams Miami on paper should beat with the talent they have, with the coaches at the level they should be coaching the players up. And it's just a matter of, you know, it's a matter of time. It's a matter of bringing in more recruits.
Got to stick with them. They were doing so many good things in recruiting. The guys that they've been able to cultivate have to stay with them and come here with the intent of being the difference. And you know, I mean, we'll see what happens. But you know, right now it's circle the wagons time yet again. You got.
It's not circle the wagons time.
It is. You got Virginia.
It's try a new wagon. It's get a new wagon, put some new horses in front of it for 30% of the time.
Okay, I want to know who these new horses are supposed to be. But anyway, Virginia Tech, Duke, and Virginia coming up, and obviously, if they can win all 3, get the 5-3, at least the month of November can be a little interesting for all of us.
And by the way, for those that are freaked out about recruiting, this recruiting class, from everything I'm hearing, is very solid. the bright side to having a new coach and a bad season is that they see the opportunity. Hey, I am Mario Cristobal's guy. Hey, I am, name the position coach's guy. He just got there. I'm his guy. These other guys he inherited. He's telling me I'm going to have a chance to play early. I'm all in. Whereas in another program, they're going to have to sit, if it's an established program with good players, you got to sit 2 or 3 years. So listen, I don't think there's going to be a huge recruiting hit. Even if they don't make a bowl game, I'd be shocked if they don't make a bowl game, considering who they still have to play. There's 3 gimme wins.
Well, it depends if depends if they stay engaged. I mean, if they don't quit, they should make a bowl game, but they got to stay engaged. These next 3 weeks are huge. Like
they're so talented, they could show up and not play particularly well.
Oh, really? You're still saying that after Middle Tennessee game?
Yeah, I am still saying that.
Wow, you're a slow learner. Unbelievable.
Who's negative Nancy now?
We've got a few more things to talk about.
So you got them losing to Duke and Virginia and Virginia Tech, huh?
Oh,
that's Gary Ferman for you.
Well, let me ask you something. Would Duke be better or worse than Middle Tennessee State? Think about that.
I don't disagree with you on that, but
about time.
There are one-offs every season. There are one-offs. That was a one-off. The team's not good. Let's face it. The Miami Hurricanes team right now is not good. That's not a surprise to anybody. But that particular game was a one-off. We talked about it at the time. I'm not going to rehash it. It was in my opinion, the players coming off that Texas A&M loss, it wasn't handled well by the players or the coaching staff in terms of where do we go from here. They still are not a good team, regardless if they beat Middle Tennessee. Okay, if they beat Middle Tennessee by a point, if Jake Garcia led them on an amazing comeback, if they beat North Carolina by a point, I get it. You still have to play the guys you're playing, but I still would be saying it's not a real good team. Like, the team is still the same. I get it that you got a few lucky breaks or bounces or whatever you call it if things were different right now. But at its core, this isn't a great culture. Mario Cristobal has work to do there. It's not a great team playing together. There's not enthusiasm to play the game. And there's a lot of issues, depth-wise, personnel-wise, across the board. They brought in the wrong they brought in transfers who aren't able to really contribute. It's hard to jettison them, as we've talked about in the past.
Well, in fairness, a lot of them are contributing. They're just not contributing as much as maybe we'd like to see them contribute in some cases. But
listen, you bring in 12. This is the thing, and this is why
they're all playing. They are playing.
Let me explain something.
Okay, but you understand they're all playing.
Okay, let me explain that. I'm going to only say this once, and I'll make it very brief because I don't want to rehash things. But for those that didn't watch for about a month before the season, this is why I said, listen, if you're going to bring in 12 transfers, they better all hit, because there's no 2-time transfer rule. You're stuck with these guys, or like Gary Ferman's biggest fear is you're ending their career when you say you're not good enough, goodbye, because no school's taking a guy right now in this current situation where they have to sit out a year. They're not filling up a roster spot. They could have taken recruits instead, okay, more recruits. So that was a problem, okay, with the transfers, with taking 12 transfers, only 3 of whom are really contributing. And what was the question? Why am I bringing this up? What were we just talking about?
We're talking about transfers, but they're all playing. They are all contributing.
No, they're not.
Moultrie was out there. The guys you don't even think about. Colby Young was out there. Ladson was out there. Messidor, Agude, Caleb Johnson was out there yesterday. They are all playing.
Are these the guys in 2 years who are going to be bringing this team a championship? Because you can't jettison these guys. You're stuck with these 12 guys. You bring in another 12 this year because these guys aren't good enough.
Well, they make the statement that they're playing, but they're not impacting wins.
There's only 3 of them that to me are potential championship level future players. Henry Parrish, Messidor, and Darrell Jackson. That's it. You can name the other 9 guys if you want, Gary. But I don't think they're, playoff level team caliber guys. I think if they were in Alabama, Ohio State, you name the team that's in the top 15 right now, I think those guys are second and third teamers. Like, I'm sorry. Well, and now you can't jettison them.
No,
like
the
other guys to
problem
open
is
up more
that
spots.
the losing has destroyed the plan. The plan was sound to bring in decent players to fortify the roster. These 3 losses have polluted the environment. No doubt about it. All right, we have a few more things to talk about. First, let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
Hey sis, want to play one-on-one? What about 3-on-3? Let's do it. Wait a minute.
Life Wallet user not detected.
I knew it.
Secure your health information and privacy with LifeWallet. LifeWallet. Saving time, saving lives.
All right, Matt. So later on today, we've got a lot of Mario Cristobal. We'll see what he has to say after having a day to just absorb the unfortunate developments out there on Saturday. We're going to have a chance to talk to Gaddis and Kevin Steele. And that's going to be interesting because, I want to talk to Kevin Steele. Kevin, after working for 2 weeks on pass defense, how did you have two busts out there early in the game that totally changed the whole game, really, and the way it was played, and allowed North Carolina to score 14 easy points, and that was way too good of an offense to score 14 early points. We want to talk to to Josh Gaddis. Why are you continuing to have problems in the red zone? You had a career day from your quarterback, but you couldn't get the ball into the end zone and score enough points. So those sessions should be interesting. Mario twice will be interesting. Other than that, we're hitting recruiting hard. We have a lot of recruiting coverage on the site already. We spoke to Ruben Bain, several other players that were there on Saturday. We'll have all that coverage coming your way on the website today, so make sure that you check that out. And the Miami Hurricanes this week will try to find a way forward, and we will be there every step of the way to try to cover it for you. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you so much for joining us today on Good Morning CaneSport. Have a great day, and we'll see you on this show tomorrow, and be on the website all day today for all that coverage. Goodbye, everybody.